Mariam lived alone in a small hut made of rusty iron sheets and mud walls that bent whenever heavy rains came. Her father had died long ago, her mother too, and she had no brothers or sisters left. Her only company was her small market stall, where she sold onions, tomatoes, green pepper, and other vegetables she could afford. Sit back, grab your popcorn, and enjoy this amazing story. She would wake up while the stars were still out, tie her old kiting around her waist, pick up her small basket and walk through the muddy paths of the slum to the market. Life was hard. The money she earned was too little. After buying the vegetables from the wholesale traders, after paying the market fees, after eating a small plate of posho, nothing much remained. Some days, she even went hungry. Yet she pushed on, because that was the only life she knew. One evening, the sky grew dark. Heavy clouds gathered, and soon the rain began to fall. It was not a simple rain. It was a storm that pounded the earth with anger. Water rushed into the slum like a river. The poor houses shook, some already collapsing. Mariam sat inside her small hut, trying to put her goods on top of her old bed so they would not drown. She sat with her knees to her chest, praying the house would survive the night. But the water rose higher. Her floor turned into a small pool. The mud wall began to melt. She was scared, but she told herself to wait until morning. Then suddenly the wall cracked. She panicked and ran to the door. The moment she stepped outside, the whole hut collapsed behind her with a loud crash. Mud iron sheets and water covered everything she owned. Mariam stood in the rain, barefoot, with nothing in her hands. She had no home anymore. That night she had nowhere to go. She walked to the roadside and sat near a shop that was closed. The cold cut through her wet clothes, and she hugged herself tight. From that day, she became homeless. She continued to wake up early because the market was the only thing left to her. She would sleep on verandas, sometimes on the bare street, but every dawn she forced herself to walk back to her stall. The slum women would gossip about her. Some felt pity, some mocked her, others ignored her. But she refused to give up completely. One morning, while walking toward her stall, she saw something strange. Near her small market spot, under the shade of a tree, lay an old basket. It looked abandoned, dirty, and worn out. She froze. In her world, strange things were often connected to witchcraft. What if someone had left it there to harm her? She wanted to walk away, but something deep inside whispered to her, "Pick it." She hesitated, looking around. No one seemed to notice the basket. With shaky hands, she reached out and grabbed it. It was lighter than she expected. She carried it to her market store. That day was especially hard. She had almost no money left to buy goods. She sat staring at the basket and sighed. "I wish this basket was full of food," she whispered bitterly. Of course, nothing happened. She laughed at herself. Later, she went hungry, sleeping on the veranda of a closed shop again. But when she woke up in the morning, her eyes widened in shock. The basket was full of food. Fresh bread, roasted meat, rice, bananas, cassava, beans, everything she could think of. She rubbed her eyes again. This could not be real. "How can this be?" she whispered. Since she lived on the street, other homeless people nearby saw the food too. They gathered, amazed. Some were scared. Others begged her for a share. Mariam herself was confused, but hunger pushed her to eat. She shared with the other street people too. That night, after filling her stomach, she sat beside the basket again. She shook her head. "Something is wrong with this basket," she murmured, but she could not deny the miracle. For the first time in many months, she slept satisfied. When she was about to close her eyes, she muttered, "I'm satisfied now, but I wish I had money so that I can leave this street. I'm tired of this coldness." She slept. In the morning, she almost screamed. The basket was full of money. Real notes stacked together, fresh and shining. She trembled. This was no ordinary basket. This was power. Fear gripped her heart, but she could not resist. She picked some of the money and went straight to a broker in town. She rented a small room with a mattress and a roof that did not leak. For the first time in years, she slept under a roof that was safe. People in the market began to whisper, "How did this poor street woman suddenly get money? Where did she get it from?" But Mariam said nothing. She kept her secret. From that day, she began to ask the basket for more. Food, money, clothes, everything she wished for appeared the next morning. The basket gave it all. She started saving large sums. She bought better clothes. She bought a stall in the market. She even hired other women to sell for her. In just a short time, the homeless street vendor became one of the richest women in the slum. But she was not satisfied. She wanted more. Soon she moved out of the slum into the city, renting a luxurious house. She bought cars, she decorated herself with golden jewelry, and she splashed money in bars. People were shocked. Some feared her, others envied her. Yet her house felt empty. She had wealth but no family. She had no husband, no children, only servants and guards. Loneliness ate her heart. She began to date young men she met in bars. She would buy them expensive drinks, invite them to her mansion, and spend nights with them. But strangely, every man she dated disappeared soon after. They would never be seen again. Rumors spread. People wondered what happened to the men who visited her. Mariam herself was disturbed. She wanted something real, someone who would not vanish. One night, as she sat in her mansion, she stared at the basket. She whispered, "You have given me everything. Can you give me a husband too?" She described the kind of man she wanted. Tall, handsome, strong, with a kind smile. She closed her eyes and slept. In the morning, when she woke up, her heart nearly stopped. A man was lying beside her in bed, exactly as she had described. He smiled and said, "Good morning, my wife." She was shocked but also overjoyed. The basket had given her a husband. From that day, she lived happily with him. They laughed, they ate together, they planned together. He never left her side. People were stunned. "From where did this woman get such a husband?" they whispered. But no one knew her secret. Together they asked the basket for a child. And one morning a baby appeared in the cradle. Mariam cried tears of joy. She had gone from homeless to wealthy, from lonely to having a family. Her mansion was full of money. Rooms piled high with notes. Her life seemed perfect. But in life, perfection often hides danger. Her gateman, who had served her for years, grew curious. He noticed there was one room in the mansion that was always locked. Mariam never allowed anyone near it. Guards kept watch, and even the husband never entered. The gateman's curiosity burned. He wondered what secret lay inside. One evening, when Mariam had gone to a bar to splash money as usual, the gateman took his chance. He found the keys, opened the forbidden room, and stepped inside. What he saw chilled him to the bone. There lay the old basket glowing faintly, and around it were strange marks, dried stains that looked like blood. His heart raced. He realized this basket was no ordinary miracle. Without thinking twice, he grabbed the basket and ran away. That was the beginning of Mariam's downfall. The night the gateman ran away with the basket, Mariam returned home drunk from the bar. She was laughing loudly, throwing money in the air as if the world belonged to her. Her husband helped her up the stairs while the guards bowed. She stumbled into the house, humming to herself. But when she looked for the basket in the locked room, it was gone. Her laughter stopped. Fear shot through her heart like a knife. She turned the whole mansion upside down, shouting at her guards, slapping the housemaids, demanding to know where it was. No one knew. The basket was gone. The next morning, she woke up tired and afraid. She told herself maybe it was not serious. She still had money. She still had her husband. She still had her child. But deep inside, she felt a cold emptiness. The basket was the source of her life. Without it, she was vulnerable. Meanwhile, the gateman who had stolen the basket ran far away. He hid it in his cousin's house in another part of the city. But what he saw that night haunted him. The bloodstains, the strange smell, the whispers he thought he heard when he touched it. He could not sleep. Fear ate him alive. He went to the police. Trembling, he told them about the basket. He confessed that the rich woman he worked for had something evil in her house. The police listened carefully. They had been receiving reports for months about young men disappearing mysteriously after visiting Mariam's mansion. Families had complained, but no evidence was ever found. Now, the gateman's story connected everything. The police launched an investigation. They came to her mansion with a warrant. Mariam tried to resist, shouting that she was innocent, but they stormed in. They searched every room. They questioned her servants. Then the gateman led them to the basket. When the police opened it, their faces turned pale. Inside the basket, they found fresh blood. It smelled raw and sharp. They also found bones, small pieces of clothing, and hair. The evidence was enough. The police arrested Mariam on the spot. Her husband and child watched in shock as she was handcuffed and dragged away. Crowds gathered outside the mansion. People who once envied her now cursed her name. "We knew something was wrong," they shouted. "How can a poor woman become rich overnight? She must have used witchcraft." Others wept, remembering the young men who had vanished. At the police station, Mariam cried and begged. She told them she had found the basket by accident, that she never killed anyone, that the basket only gave her what she wished for. But the police did not believe her. When they investigated further, horrifying truths came out. The missing men she had dated were all victims of the basket. It demanded blood in return for wealth. Every time she enjoyed her luxury, someone paid with their life. She had ignored the signs, blinded by greed. The court sessions drew huge crowds. Newspapers splashed her face on the front page. Some called her the basket woman. Others called her the widow of blood. She sat in the dock, her expensive clothes replaced by prison uniform, her face pale with shame. Witness after witness stood to speak. Families of the missing men cried, pointing at her with shaking fingers. The gateman testified about what he saw. The police displayed the basket in court, and the room filled with a heavy silence as people stared at it with fear. The judge listened to everything. In the end, the evidence was overwhelming. Mariam was sentenced to life imprisonment. When she heard the words, her body collapsed in the dock. Guards lifted her up and dragged her out as the crowd outside cheered. For many, it was justice at last. Her mansion was seized by the government. Her cars were taken. Her bank accounts were frozen. Servants fled. Friends who used to drink with her disappeared. The husband she had asked the basket for was gone too, vanishing into thin air the night she was arrested. The baby also disappeared from the cradle as if it had never existed. Everything the basket had given her was gone. In prison, Mariam had nothing. She slept on a cold floor, ate tasteless food, and listened to the sound of iron bars clanging shut every night. The women prisoners mocked her. "So this is the rich woman who thought she owned the world?" they laughed. "Now she is like us." She lay awake many nights, staring at the ceiling. Memories of the basket tormented her. She remembered the first morning she found food in it, the joy of sharing with other street people. If only she had stopped there. If only she had never asked for money. If only she had never wished for more. But greed had consumed her, and now she had nothing but regret. Outside, people told her story as a warning. Mothers told their children about the basket woman, teaching them that quick wealth brings destruction. Market women whispered about her while arranging their tomatoes. Street boys told each other the tale as they warmed themselves by small fires. Years passed. Mariam grew old in prison. Her hair turned grey, her back bent, her face wrinkled. She was no longer the young woman who once danced in bars with money flying in the air. She became silent, bitter, broken. No one visited her. No one remembered her with kindness. One rainy night, the prison roof leaked above her bed. Water dripped on her face. She closed her eyes and remembered the night her hut collapsed. Life had come full circle. She had started with nothing, and now she was ending with nothing. She whispered to herself, "The basket gave me everything, but it also took everything. I am the fool who could not see." Her voice faded in the darkness. The guards found her lifeless in the morning. And so the story of Mariam, the poor market woman who found a magical basket, came to an end.